Have you ever felt a chill race down your spine when hearing ancient stories of gods and monsters? Have you ever wondered if those beloved Greek deities weren't the benevolent protectors we imagine, but something far more sinister? In the next few minutes, you're about to discover the shocking side of Greek mythology that most history books never dare to discuss. We're delving into the sinister legends that lurk beneath the polished marble of Mount Olympus. By the end of this video, you'll question everything you think you know about Zeus, Hera, and the rest of the pantheon. Because behind their glorious temples and heroic tales, there's a darkness so profound that it might change the way you see ancient myths forever. This is Myth X, and what you're about to hear is the harrowing truth that remains hidden within the cracks of our oldest stories. Prepare to embark on a journey that uncovers vile betrayals, twisted obsessions, and the horrifying secrets of the gods themselves. Trust me when I say, by the time we're done, you'll never look at Greek mythology the same way again. Stay with us, because the darkest secret is yet to come. Most of us grew up hearing about the Olympians as if they were righteous guardians of humanity. But let me ask you this. Have you ever paused to consider the price mortals paid for divine favor? Imagine a world where storms rage because a capricious sky god grows irritable, or where entire cities crumble because one deity nurses a personal grudge. That was ancient Greece's reality. On one hand, these gods could bless you with rain for your crops or protect you from rampaging monsters. On the other, they might hurl your loved ones into unimaginable despair for committing the smallest offense. Mortals cowered in fear, offering blood sacrifices and building temples to appease beings who viewed them as mere playthings. Meanwhile, the gods lived lavishly atop Mount Olympus, feasting on ambrosia and never concerning themselves with the mortal suffering they caused. In the underworld, Hades waited patiently, collecting souls whenever the gods' vengeance or careless whims resulted in death. This was the Greek cosmos, two realms linked by fear, power, and the unstoppable tide of fate. In a moment, we'll peel back the layers further, uncovering how the so-called king of the gods set a terrifying standard for cruelty. Zeus was the undisputed ruler of Olympus, but his reign was anything but noble. Ancient texts paint Zeus as a relentless tyrant who took whatever he wanted, whenever he desired. Legends say he transformed himself into animals or even showers of gold just to trick unsuspecting mortals into horrific encounters. His wife Hera often bore the brunt of his actions, but that's not where the nightmare ends. Some stories claim Zeus wielded thunderbolts forged by the Cyclops to terrorize both gods and mortals. Imagine living each day in constant fear that a sudden strike of lightning could obliterate your home because you failed to honor the thunder god properly. Worse still, if Zeus grew bored, he might incite wars among men for sheer entertainment. Entire generations perished. Pawns in a celestial chess game played by an immortal overlord. Zeus's appetite for control was matched only by his appetite for indulgence. He would punish those who refused him, reward his favorites arbitrarily, and pit families against each other to maintain his iron grip. Next, we venture deeper into the realm of divine vindictiveness by examining Hera's unrelenting quest for vengeance, which often made innocent mortals her targets. Stay close for revelation. Hera, the queen of Olympus, is often portrayed as a jealous wife, but the reality is far darker than simple envy. After discovering yet another of Zeus's betrayals, she wouldn't just confront her husband, she would torment his illegitimate offspring and their unsuspecting mothers. Think about it. Mortals were punished for the mere sin of catching Zeus's wandering eye. Some were driven to madness, while others endured curses that stretched across generations. Hera's wrath was legendary. She unleashed monstrous creatures, orchestrated Herculean trials, and manipulated lesser gods to do her bidding. No one was safe from her twisted sense of justice, not even newborns. In one horrific tale, Hera attempted to murder the infant Hercules in his cradle by sending venomous serpents. This wasn't the act of a benevolent goddess. It was the act of a vengeful power willing to harm the innocent to soothe her wounded pride. And that venom wasn't just meant for Hercules. It was a poison that seeped into the mortal realm, reminding everyone that the gods could and would turn on them at a whim. Our next stop is the domain of Poseidon, whose storms and earthquakes were only part of his long list of punishments. Poseidon was more than just the god of the sea. His domain included every shift of the earth beneath our feet. Whenever he grew angry, entire coastlines could vanish under monstrous waves, and earthquakes tore cities apart. Sailors lived in constant dread, praying that their offerings of wine and slaughtered animals would keep the Sea Lord appeased. But Poseidon's cruelty wasn't limited to natural disasters. He had a reputation for violent, vengeful acts, especially against those who dared challenge his authority. Legends speak of him unleashing sea monsters to ravage coastal towns if a king or hero incurred his wrath. And let's not forget how he toyed with Odysseus, dooming him to years of torment simply because the mortal injured the Cyclops Polyphemus, who happened to be Poseidon's son. Mortals caught in his sights often found themselves ruined, their ships sunk, their homes destroyed, their families lost to the unrelenting tide. Yet even with that brutality, the cycle of worship continued. People sacrificed at Poseidon's temples, hoping to avoid his ire. Meanwhile, countless lives washed away, all to satisfy a god who seemed to take more pleasure in destruction than in compassion. Next, we descend into the realm of Hades, a god whose presence loomed over every mortal's final breath. In the shadowy realm of Hades, the living had no power. Mortals who died faced judgment at the hands of the underworld's lords, who decided whether a soul would wander the asphodel meadows, suffer in Tartarus, or find rare reprieve in the Elysian fields. Hades himself was often depicted as aloof, but make no mistake, he was as ruthless as his brothers. He enforced unbreakable laws, and those who dared defy him could be subjected to eternal punishments. Consider Sisyphus, damned to roll a boulder uphill forever, or Tantalus, to starve in a pool of unreachable food and water. These weren't acts of mercy. They were expressions of a sadistic order. Worse still, Hades' own marriage to Persephone was founded on abduction. He dragged her into his realm against her will, forcing her to live half the year in darkness. It's a tragic reminder that even love was stained with cruelty among the gods. Mortal souls found no respite. There was no second chance, no forgiveness, just the cold, unyielding weight of divine law. Stay tuned for unsettling truths ahead. Most people picture Apollo as a beacon of light, music, and prophecy. But lurking beneath that golden facade was a cruel streak. He was known to curse those who refused him, often striking them with plagues or catastrophic misfortunes. Consider the story of Cassandra, granted the gift of prophecy, but cursed so no one would ever believe her. Imagine the torment of seeing disasters before they happen, powerless to prevent them because everyone thinks you're mad. Apollo's vindictiveness didn't end there. He challenged mortals to contests, and if they won, or even dared to appear more skilled, he'd humiliate or punish them. Remember the satyr, Marsyas, who dared to test his flute against Apollo's lyre. The result? Marsyas was flayed alive. This was not a benevolent sun god, but a vengeful artist who demanded absolute devotion. It's said that those close to Apollo lived in perpetual fear of displeasing him. Even the oracles who served as his mouthpieces had to tread carefully, lest they anger the one whose visions they delivered. Next, let's meet Artemis, Apollo's twin, a goddess whose wild hunts and fierce independence held a darkness just as frightening as her brothers. What secrets does this moonlit goddess truly conceal? Artemis, goddess of the hunt, stood as a symbol of untamed nature. She championed virginal purity and fiercely protected wildlife. Yet her wrath was deadly. Cross her once, and you might find yourself transformed into a stag, hunted by your own hounds. That was the fate of Actaeon, who glimpsed Artemis bathing. She showed no mercy, turning him into a beast and letting his dogs tear him apart. Then there was Niobe, who boasted she was superior to Artemis's mother, Leto. Artemis, alongside Apollo, slaughtered all 14 of Niobe's children. Imagine the agony of a grieving mother punished for a single moment of pride. Artemis might spare animals, but she had little pity for humans. Her punishments were extreme, her anger swift, and her moral code utterly unforgiving. The wilderness she represented was no peaceful forest. It was a realm where violence reigned, and any misstep meant destruction. In each cautionary tale, mortals learned that the gods' favor was fickle, their retribution merciless. Let's bring these chilling truths together and reveal the final verdict on whether these Greek gods were truly divine or just monstrous powers cloaked in myth. So, were these entities truly deities worthy of worship? Or were they dark forces masquerading under a veil of divinity? If we judge them by their actions, murder, betrayal, torture, the Greek gods appear more like demons than benevolent guardians. Their stories weren't mere tales of heroism and moral lessons. They were warnings of a brutal cosmic order where mortals stood little chance. Even acts of mercy seemed overshadowed by their random punishments and vengeful impulses. The truth might be that these deities were projections of the ancient human psyche, embodying the very worst in us as well as the best. Yet, generation after generation, people built altars, offered sacrifices, and prayed for divine favor, hoping the gods might spare them from the same cruelties they inflicted on others. Could it be that fear, rather than faith, sustained this pantheon? It's a sobering question, and it forces us to reassess what it means to call something godly. In their world, the line between protector and destroyer was razor thin. As we draw near the end, we'll show you how these myths still echo in our modern psyche, and why you should never take the stories of Olympus at face value. Now that you've witnessed the haunting depths of Greek mythology, it's time to decide where you stand. Will you cling to the comforting tales of heroism and love, or will you embrace the darker, more unsettling truths hidden in these ancient legends? If this exploration has left you hungry for more, subscribe to MythX and become part of our quest to uncover the mysterious and macabre facets of world mythology. We'll delve into forgotten civilizations, lost gods, and the harrowing stories that shaped our human experience. We want to hear your thoughts. Which deity frightened you, and how do you see these gods influencing modern beliefs? Leave a comment below and spark a conversation with fellow myth enthusiasts. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you found these revelations both chilling and enlightening. Share this video with anyone who dares to question the polished veneer of ancient myths, because the more we uncover, the deeper the shadows grow. We'll see you next time as we journey even further into the lurking darkness of myth and legend. Until then, sometimes the greatest monsters wear crowns of divinity. Stay curious and question everything.